right, here we go. And welcome back to the Profile Pod. I'm your host, Double A, back for another spectacular episode of the pod. We're back here in the friendly confines of the studio, and I have an amazing guest on standby right now. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether you're, if we're recording this one, so I want to thank you for tuning in, and I want to thank everybody for all the love and support on Instagram, on all the social media platforms. Really appreciate that, man. I love engaging and connecting with all of you out there. And I'm going to continue to do this, continue to bring on amazing guests. And like I always say, this is the show that brings on individuals doing extraordinary things in life to inspire the human spirit. And today, our guest hails from the 805 Ventura County, California, Oxnard. He has a book that he just, 2 years ago, he published. And it's the book is called The Answer to Call, Life Lessons from Family Origins Through Invention and Struggle. International bestseller. He's also a realtor, an inventor, and my man right here does it all. And he's inspiring us all to go out and do that one thing, man. That one thing or many things that we've always wanted to do. And that's the essence of this show, man, is to inspire you guys to get out there and do whatever it is that you've always wanted to do. I don't care what it is. You know, if it's writing that book like Jorge right here, or writing a script, or starting a business, or hiking, going out to Mount Shasta, or what I always like to say, throwing flames, torches in the Pacific Ocean on a raft, or whatever the case may be, man. This is I aim to inspire all of you. Without further ado, let's bring on again, author, inventor, realtor, Jorge V. Gonzalez. How are you, man?
I'm doing amazing, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Oh man, thank you for being here, Jorge, and taking the time to talk to us. And yeah, man, you wrote the book, and you're an author. You do so many things. You're an inventor. I want to get into everything, man. But let's check in with you first, man. How's everything? How are you?
You know, I'm doing extremely amazing. It's not overwhelming, but it's humbling. You know, to be able to be interviewed on podcasts and meeting people that are very influential like yourself, and feel that my story is worth sharing. And that's humbling for me, because this has been my dream to always write a book, publish a book, and really share the stories that are in my book. I've always been, they're very dear to me. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like I said, man, I only, associate and bring on individuals who are going to inspire, not only myself, first and foremost myself, but, the audience, others who maybe who might be, they're kicking around the idea, hey, I want to try this, I want to do this or that, whatever the case may be, man. And like I said, the essence is to inspire those to get out there and give it a shot, take action.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Let's get into you had your book published in 2021. Mm-hmm. Like I said, man, Answer the Call, Life Lessons from Family Origins Through Invention and Struggle, man. That's a heck of a title, man. And I'm sure there's so much that goes behind that title. Tell us a little bit about the book, man. What was the most fun, first of all, about writing the book, man? And then we'll get into like what inspired and like a little bit of the background.
The fun part about it was finally being able to have the opportunity to put the stories in the book, and to know that these stories were going to be shared and have the potential to reach like large audiences. That was the exciting part of the whole thing. And even till today, it's exciting, to know that my book is part of history, because it's down on paper. It's on Amazon. It's in the biggest platform that we have, and the biggest, and so it's humbling that my book is on there. Just little old me, has a book there.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, exciting.
That's when you think about that, Amazon's like, what's bigger than Amazon?
Yeah.
You know,
Nike.
yeah, I know. Yeah, and Google maybe,
You know?
Apple, or but it's up there.
Yeah.
You know, what it's so yeah. When you think when you put it in those terms, it just kind of dawned on me right now. And that, how I mean, how amazing it must be for you, to know that your book is out there, and it's a bestseller, right?
Yeah.
It's a bestseller, and talk about that, man. I mean, how does that feel? I know I see that gold stamp on the photo, on the promo, and on the cover, and so tell how does that feel, man?
You know, when I first published it and it went live, I bought the first copy. I went in there and I bought my first paperback copy. It's like, I want to be the first one that buys it. And the next day I went back on the site and I saw a little 1 on it. And I didn't even think much of it, why there was a 1 on it, until one of my clients, I had told her that I had published the book. And she said, George, what does a 1 mean on there? It's like, 1? Yeah, on next to your book, there's a little 1. And then when I went back on there, it said bestseller number 1. I'm like, I just got, wow. Of all these books that are being published, my book says 1 on it in the bestseller list in Amazon. So part of me wanted to cry in front of my client, because it was humbling that my book, a first generation American that hardly spoke English growing up into the 5th grade, would have a published book that would become a number 1 bestseller. And then for my publishing company to tell me that not only did it go number 1 bestseller in Amazon within 24 hours, but it also did it in 5 other countries, Mexico being one, which is the country that my grandparents came from. So again, that was humbling again, that book made it full circle back into Mexico, where my grandfather came from.
No doubt about it, man. Yeah, that's amazing, man. And what when you found out that it was a bestseller, right? Like you just explained, in which I know you said, you mentioned earlier that it was abroad. It was bestseller abroad. What are some of those countries?
Some of those countries were, I believe, Europe, Mexico, United States, Canada, and there was another country that I just can't remember the name of it, but there was 5 different countries.
Wow!
And like I said, I mean, I couldn't believe it, that it would happen in 5 countries. I mean, 1 country, let alone 5. And then to see also Mexico, I mean, it was just, it made me extremely emotional. My grandfather's no longer here. He's been gone for a minute now. But I know that when that happened and he saw my reaction and sees what I'm doing, I know that he's looking down on me and says, I'm proud of my grandson. That I came from Mexico, and here, that my story, his story, made it back to Mexico.
Wow.
That's the part that makes me emotional sometimes, excited, and that's what keeps me moving forward, because I want to continue making him proud.
Yeah. Yeah. What part of Mexico are you guys from?
My family's from Michoacán, Mexico.
Oh, Michoacán, right?
Michoacán, Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah, they migrated back in the World War II under the Bracero program. That's when my grandfather came here under the Bracero program.
Is that right?
Yeah. Do you know what the Bracero program is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Many people don't know though. So when I go to college universities, I'm in front of Mexican American people and Chicanos and whatnot. A lot of them don't know. I say, okay, who here has heard about the Bracero program? They don't raise up their hand. And then I briefly touch into it and I go, look, you guys need to research this.
Yes.
You guys really need to know where you guys come from. Ask your parents where they came from. Ask your grandparents where they came from and they're still here. Learn about their stories, because that's the foundation of anything you're going to build. So if you ever come across some obstacles and some things that are rough in life, that'll keep you from giving up, because you want to make them proud. And when I say stuff like that, they're just like awed.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, he's speaking truth here.
No doubt.
Yeah. That's how we keep our next generation engaged, by knowing the foundation of the roots.
Love that, the foundation. Yeah, my parents. I'm first generation here as well. My parents came from Mexico, not under the Bracero program, but yeah, like you said, man. I love what you said, Jorge. When you're feeling down, when you think about that history, and you realize how lucky we are, man.
Blessed,
right? Blessed that our forefathers are grandfathers
Yeah.
or for the generations before us who came here, went through some stuff, man. Went through some stuff, and I have to remind myself of that. And yeah, it does definitely inspire.
You know how deep this goes. If you were to Google the Bracero program, they were lynching Mexicans on the borders and the states near to Mexico. So many of them that Mexico says, we're not going to send the Mexican people to work in your agriculture fields in certain states because there were so many lynchings there. Yeah. So once you start digging deep on this Bracero program, you really find out the deep pain and sacrifice our grandparents did, or like you said, the generations that got us here, what they went through. This is deep, bro.
No doubt about it.
And people need, our people need to know.
Yeah.
We need to know where we come from, and we need to know what our people went through. Our grandparents.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, bro. It's heartbreaking.
Definitely. Yeah. I need to take upon myself and teach my kids and inform them about that all of that, man. And because like you said, that's the foundation.
That's the foundation, bro.
And but yeah, going back to your book though, Jorge, what take us back, man. What inspired you? What take us to that moment where the book that seed was planted in your head, and you said, you know what, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna do this. Or is it maybe something that you had always wanted to do when you were younger or something? But tell us how that came about.
The initial seed that was planted was when my dad was 45 years old. I took him to USC University, and the doctor at UC University told me, I need you to tell your dad that he has 6 months to live. He was 45. I was in like my mid-30s, early 30s. And I looked at the doctor and I said, what did you say? Tell your dad that he only has 6 months to live. Because his liver was so burned out from alcoholism. I looked at my dad and I said, the doctor said that you have 6 months to live. And my dad was just silent. He was like in shock. He didn't know what to say. And we walked out. It was me, my dad, and my younger sister, my baby sister, which I didn't even know my sister was with us, because that's how traumatizing that event was. And just a recent conversation, she told me, George, I was there with you that day.
Oh, wow.
That's how traumatizing that was. But when that happened, I knew that I wanted to share that story, that the pain that my family was about to go through, and my dad's position at 45, given 6 months to live, that how can I stop other people from having the same consequence as far as the adult and then having the children suffer. So that's when the seed was planted. So, and then a couple years after that, I started jotting things down, and that was like the first story that I kind of talked about it in this notebook that I had. That was like the first story that I wanted to talk about.
What's the time frame, George, here?
This was my dad passed away in 2004.
Okay.
So 8 years previous to that, that's when that happened. So I was in my early 30s. I'm 50 now. But that's when that seed was planted about, I want to share this story. How do I do it? But nothing came. No opportunity came to really share that.
Wow.
But when I was able to write the book, I knew that story had to be in there.
I see.
But that's when that seed was planted.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So it's kind of like I don't want to say almost like it's like a guide.
Yeah.
In a way, right?
Yeah.
For like you said, to anticipating that what your family's gonna go through, the pain, right?
I deep down I knew it. The moment that the doctor said that, I knew what we were gonna go through, and I knew the pain, because our culture, we're really tight, we're really close.
Yes.
So the moment somebody would tell you something like that, I'm like, wow, we're really gonna go through this. Yeah. But that's when the seed was planted.
That's when it was planted. Yeah.
That's when it was planted.
So so your father passed in the 90s.
in 2004.
Oh, 2004.
2004 he passed. Yeah.
Okay, 2004. So from that point on, you began to piece together the book.
When he passed away, that's when I knew that I had to share that somehow, somewhere. I had to share it. I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
And the coming years after that, like 2-3 years going in after that, that's when I started writing things down because I didn't want to forget anything. Like I didn't want to forget the pain that I went through, because sometimes you do forget it.
No doubt.
Because you want to move past it. But I didn't want to forget that pain. I wanted to keep it fresh, which is why I had to write it down. And every once in a while, I would go through it and it would make me emotional, but I wanted to feel it. So when I did have the time, the opportunity to speak about it and whatnot, share it, it's still fresh, and I can touch people with that story, you know, because it was important to me, you know, just like it is for a lot of other people that have lost parents
for sure
through some struggle, one way or the other, you know.
Wow. So, tell us a little bit about the book itself, man. You know, some of your favorite parts, key points, the message, the theme, all of it, man. Break it down for us.
My best part of the book is that I was gonna call it American Inventor because I'm an inventor. But the day I was on the phone with my publishing company, I heard this voice, the most powerful, sweetest voice I've ever heard in my life. And this was the second time I've heard this voice. And it's unmistakable. And you know whose that voice is. And it said, answer the call. And it got my attention. And then I heard it again. And then I spoke it out. And I said, answer the call. And my publishing company says, what is that? That's the name of the book. Where did you get that from? It was just whispered to me. Okay, we're scratching American Inventor because I was going to call it American Inventor. And we're scratching that and we're going with Answer the Call. That's the title. So that's like the most important part and powerful part of the book is the title itself. Answer the Call is about finding your gifts, your talents, and pursuing your life purpose. That's what Answer the Call is.
Love that, man.
And one of the most important stories, other than my father's story and that pain, is my grandfather's story of coming from Mexico. That's the foundation of who we are. And that's the foundation and also what allowed my dad to come here to the United States under the extension of that program. When my mom married my dad, because my mom had already her green card because of the Barcelona program with my grandfather. So that's why that story is first, because that is the foundation of our family. Wow.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. And so,
but do you see why it's important for our people and our individuals and our family members to know, especially the next generation, because this is the power of that story, is that they need to know where their loved ones come from. Because that'll keep them either straight or they're going to go through the side of something different.
Definitely.
Hit the streets or whatnot. Get into drugs, whatever. Bad influences. But if we tell them about the story and the sacrifice, chances are they'll stay in line.
Exactly. Because, you realize, hopefully they'll appreciate the struggle.
It's all about appreciation.
Yes. And gratitude. Gratitude for, not taking that for granted, what your forefathers went through. And like you said, staying in line and continue to live on keeping that legacy going in a positive light.
And I talk about that in my book about legacy. Now, when I first published the book, I wasn't gonna publish it when I wrote it. My publishing company says, "So you're ready to do this?" So, you know what? I think we're gonna shelve it. I said, No. You're not gonna shelve this book. The stories that are in there are too powerful for you to shelve it. But what I was thinking was I was gonna pass it down to my family, to my daughter, and for her to give to my grandkids and my great grandkids. So whenever somebody got out of line, this is where the sacrifice, this is where the pain comes from. But my publishing company said, no, George, these stories are just too powerful in here. You have to share them. And they convinced me to actually publish it.
Wow.
But I almost didn't.
George, if you could, for those that don't know what that term means, shelve the book.
Shelf the book means not publish it.
Not shelve, okay.
So write the book, make copies of the book, but just pass it down to my family.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Kind of like a family album.
Right.
These were going to be more love letters to my family, for them to know where I come from, where we come from, and so I can reach 3 to 5 generations of my own family. Because in my book I talk about 4, which means I can reach 3 to 5. That's not far-fetched, because I already have 4 in my book.
Yeah.
But now it's more about how many more people and how many more families can I help sharing about these stories, and who can I inspire for them to share their story and them to write their book so they can pass it on to their family and their lineage.
Yeah. And you wanted to shelf it?
I did.
Yeah, you okay.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Why is that, though?
I think I felt that really putting my book out there was too much for a person like me. And it was like self-doubt. But my publishing company says, no, George, I mean, this is amazing. And they kept telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I knew there were great stories, and I know there were emotional stories, but I just didn't see the caliber of it until somebody that's been doing this in the industry, they can tell you, look, George, the reason why we partnered up with you and said you would be a great fit for our publishing company and help you write the book was because we believe in you,
mm-hmm.
in what you're trying to accomplish, and we also believe in the stories that you wanted to share from the get-go. For you to shelve it, this wouldn't be a good thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to share it.
It's just too valuable.
Now, once I published it, they're not making any money off my book. So they have no skin in the game.
Wow.
This is all me. So they were trying to help me out.
Right.
Because they're not making money from any of my books being published. I get the money from Amazon.
I see.
When somebody buys my book.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get anything.
Wow.
Because they helped me make the book, create the book, and get it published.
Wow.
That's where the contract ended.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So for them, it was either there, here, nor there, whether I put it out there or not. Their mission was accomplished by helping me write the book.
Mm. Yeah. What was the most challenging part, for the process, during the process of writing the book for you?
It's amazingly, it wasn't difficult. The most difficult part was believing that I can do this.
Mm.
I had the resources, I had the stories, but can I really do this? And once I committed to it, and I was given the option to, George, do you want to write the book or do you want to speak the book? And I'm like, what do you mean speak? Oh, excuse me. What do you mean speak? Yeah, you can speak it.
Like an audiobook?
Like an audiobook. And when you speak it, then we get it transcribes, and we just edit the book like a manuscript. And I'm like, okay, I want to do that. So what happened is that, like when you fill out a resume,
mm-hmm.
you got the bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they gave me bullet points just like that. So the people that helped me write my book were people that actually are writers in Hollywood. They do this as a side gig.
Oh, okay.
So these people do movie scripts.
Wow.
So they said, okay, George, what's the first story they want to talk about, and what kind of things do you want to talk about? It's like, well, I want to talk about this. So they structured it that way, and then they told me, okay, I want you to write 3 to 4 sentences of this, 3 to 4 sentences of that, a paragraph of this. So I wrote all that stuff down. So the moment that I went to speak it on the first session for the first chapter, and we went through it, they said, okay, George, we're done. We're done with what? We're done with the first chapter. So what do you mean we're done with the first chapter? It's like, yeah, we're done with the first chapter. We're going to get the manuscript. We're going to edit it, and then we're going to send it to you so you can approve it. I'm like, okay. And it wasn't real to me. I mean, it hadn't sunk in yet. And then when I got the transcript, I'm like, whoa. It had my name on it. It had the other name of the title, American Inventor, because that's what we're going to call it. It was all structured in the first chapter. I'm like, wow. I have a first chapter of my book. It was like, I felt like I was dreaming. And then we just kept going on into the final chapter. And then they said, George, okay, we're done. We're going to send you, what do you want the book cover to be and stuff like that, coloring schemes and whatnot. So I was doing that, and I still didn't believe it until I had the cover done and the whole book done, and they wanted me to approve it to load it up into Amazon. And even then, when they said, George, it's live, I had to pinch myself and say, wow, I'm really an author now. I really did do this. And that time frame was 3 to 6 months from the time I finished the book, and 6 months to launch it. And I almost didn't get it done because as I was writing the book, chapter number 2, my grandmother died. And then my uncle died, my dad's older brother, within 2 weeks. Wow. They died of COVID. And I mean, you can just imagine everything that I went through at that time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to cancel everything. I'm not going to continue going on this. But then when the publishing company, reached out to me and said, okay, George, you ready for, chapter number 3? I thought about it for a second. I was going to say, you know what? I can't do this. But something inside of me says, yes. And I just continue going. And when I told them the chapters, when I talk about my grandmother, at the beginning, I talk about she's still here. At the end of the book, I say that she's no longer here. So they went back and they edited the beginning part of it because she was no longer here anymore.
They changed it. So
we were able to edit that part of it. And so that was extremely difficult, having those 2 losses of my family that I care for so much, but I knew that they were still with me, and I knew that I was talking about them also in my book, and I shared that, to give them, what's the word I'm looking for they can be proud that I had the courage to say that this is what I went through, and I still managed to get this done, so not thinking about me, but just how impactful would that be?
For sure.
And God's strength, man. God's strength to pull me through it.
It's interesting you bring that up. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is what were some of those challenges, right? And what got you through that process? What allowed you, what inspired you, what motivated you to finish and complete the project and complete the book? So it sounds like, I mean, you answered the question right there.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah, I've always known that God has been protecting me like my entire life. It's ever since I was a small child. But I really didn't understand how deep that went until that happened to me. And then the whole book thing, the title and everything coming together, that's when I really understood how present he was.
Wow.
And he's carried me through my entire life. And now I can see that now. Because the book allowed me to see back in time and put all those pieces together and say, oh my God, I wasn't here by myself. And all these things that happened to me it wasn't a punishment. They were lessons.
Yes. Because
I thought I was being punished. But no, they weren't punishment. They were lessons. So that I can inspire other people.
Definitely. I like how you frame that. I think framing is how you view something, right? And how do you view it? Like you just said, your perspective is their lessons. They're learning lessons, not punishment. You're not being put down. Just like when you fail, right? Are you really failing, or how do you frame that? Is it a learning process? Is it part of the it's a part of the process,
You only fail if you quit. If you don't quit, you don't fail.
Yeah.
You just prove yourself that that's not the way to do it. But if you keep going forward, you take that lesson and you move forward with the experience now. But as long as you don't quit, you haven't failed yet. Only if you quit, you fail.
Exactly. What are some other key points in the book, George? What else can you tell us about?
Key points in the book are definitely we're all going to struggle.
Yeah.
But it's not about why is this happening to me. It's more like, what's this trying to show me? That's how we need to think about it. Now, and also, people are going to betray us. They're going to turn their back on us. The people that we thought they're going to be there from the beginning all the way to the end, that will not be the case. Because people don't want to go through the struggle with you. They only want to be there to celebrate. And you have to be very, very careful. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't love you. They do love you for the most part. But they just can't stomach the pain because they don't see the vision. They don't see the dream. So they don't have invested interest in it. So when it gets difficult, they tap out because it has nothing to do with them. But we just have to be careful that when you do succeed and when you do win, because you will, people will start coming around. And then you need to have discernment whether this person is coming in with good intentions or bad intentions. So those are some of the powerful things that people need to understand.
Yeah. And in the title, through invention, right? Through invention. Is that a reference to you as an inventor, or talk a little bit about that? Clarify that.
Yeah. So invention is partly inventing something, but it's also reinventing yourself.
Oh, okay.
Because as we go through the process, when you realize, okay, well, I've outgrown this situation, or this obstacle came in and just destroyed everything that I had, that I was working on, I have to reinvent myself. Like when I became disabled, I had to reinvent myself and get into a brand new industry, an industry that, yes, I had the foundation, because I was involved in real estate since I was 14 years old, doing kitchen and bathroom models and rehabs with my dad and my uncle. And when I got disabled, I couldn't go back into my distribution, logistics, and warehouse management job, right? That I worked in for 20 years and reaching up to management. So my reinvention was I had to reinvent myself. And then that's when I heard the first whisper that said real estate. That was the very first time. That was the same voice that I heard the second time that I said earlier. And because of the foundation of that I had at 14, I knew that it would be a transition. But that was just me reinventing myself. So every time you have to go from one level of expertise to the next, that's you reinventing yourself, but you're bringing forward the knowledge and the experience that you've gathered through the previous experiences.
Love that, man.
Yeah.
Love
so that's what that means.
That's great, Jorge. Because many times I've moved from industry to industry. I stayed at one for X amount of time and then moved on. But every time, like you said, I brought something with me because through what I learned, what I took with me, I had to reinvent myself at the next stage.
Yes.
And oh wow, that's great.
But you were bringing knowledge and experience from your previous one.
Exactly.
And that was the foundation of you reinvent yourself. So you're not reinventing yourself without a foundation. The foundation is what you're bringing forward, and you're using that to reinvent yourself.
That's great. I love that. Love that, man.
When I tell people that and they see it that way, now they understand how valuable they are. Because sometimes they feel they're not, because I'm brand new here. It's like, no, you're not brand new, because you bring a truckload of experience
and knowledge and expertise.
That's the foundation, and you're building from that.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That's great. No, wow, that just hit me like a ton of bricks right now, man. You mentioned, your father, passing away, and it's mentioned in the book, that story. What other stories do you share in the book? Stories of adversity, where you demonstrate, resilience and moving forward. What other stories can you tell us? I don't want you to give away the book, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe, touching on one of those.
So when I was going through it, like really going through it in a dark place, it was the depression and suicidal thoughts. And that has to be like the worst things that anybody can go through. But not being stuck there for too long is important. But the only way that we don't stay stuck there for too long is knowing that we have a big purpose to fulfill. We have a legacy to live. And we also have to remember the sacrifices that were done before us. Again, the foundation that I talk about on my grandfather's journey. So all those things coupled together was really what pushed me out of the dark place that I was at. had I not had the story of my grandfather, and had I not wanted to leave a legacy, and had I not had the experiences that I went through with my dad, I probably would have gave up. Because I wouldn't have had nothing to live for. But like I said, the purpose and the mission was much bigger than me. And I've always known that. And that's what really didn't allow me to stay stuck there for too long. Because I went through it. One of the times that I really went through it, the first time, was when I first found out my dad was sick. And I had the gun in my hand, about to blow my brains out. Completely honest with you. But then I saw a vision of my mom crying over me. And I'm like, I'm not going to curse my mom for the rest of her life. Because I saw that. And then again, that reminded me of my grandfather. And then that reminded me of what I was supposed to be here for. Not knowing what it was yet. But I always had this knowing that I'm here for something bigger than me. So those things coupled together got me out of that place. The very first time.
Wow. Yeah. No,
it could be a dangerous place, man. It can really be a dangerous place.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Oh, I'm glad you're here to talk about that, everything you've been through, man. And, you know, what kind of kid were you, though, Georgia? Like, going back to, you know, school age into your teenage years, man. Were you troubled back then? Or were you an athlete? Tell us a little bit about that, man. The young George.
I want to say that I was always a good, loving kid growing up. And I got bullied when I was probably up to the 3rd, 4th grade. And I finally defended myself. I stood up to the bully. And after that, I promised that I was never going to let anybody bully me again. So I had like a little chip on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, growing up in the streets of California, of the United States, first generation American, you're exposed to a different life that our parents were exposed to in Mexico. So I ditched in high school. I smoked weed, experimented with drugs. My dad kicked me out of the house at 21 years old because he told me that I was going to be a bad influence for my little brother. And I respected his decision because I knew he was right. And that's when I actually bought my first property at 21.
Wow.
So I have had that lost part of me, but I know deep down inside, God always knew my heart. So he took care of me so I wouldn't damage my life, right? But I was the guy that I used to ride down on my bike in the neighborhood, you know, not an evil kid, but I was that guy, you know, fearless guy on the bike and stuff like that. You know, not looking for trouble though. You know, just hanging out with my friends, stuff like that.
Have a good time.
But that was really who I was, you know, and hung out at the park, you know, playing baseball like a lot of us have, and hanging out with the friend's house and whatnot. But back then we didn't see it as a bad thing, you know.
No, of course.
Now we look at it in movies. I'm like, oh my God, I was a knucklehead like that, you know. So, but that was the person I was, and. But again, I was learning how to be me, you know, because I really didn't have anybody to guide me and stuff like that. Like a lot of us don't.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, but this is why I have the relationship that I have with my daughter. That I speak to her. This is what I went through. This is the music. This is kind of what I went through. So okay, because I wanted her to know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, because I wanted her to make sure that she didn't do some of the things that I did. Like, you know, party, ditched, bad grades, not go to college, not go to university, dabble in drugs and whatnot. I didn't want her to do that. Mm-hmm. I didn't want her to have the bad element in her life, because some of the people in my life were bad elements. But they were pulled away from me, like, quick, through the way society does. You know, getting hooked on drugs and going to jail, in and out of jail. So that's how they were yanked from my life.
Wow.
You know, so but yeah, I mean that's kind of how I was raised and how I grew up. You know, yeah. I don't think I was a bad kid, but I can honestly say that I was lost. I'm not gonna deny that.
No doubt, man. Yeah, I think back to I think I was pretty blessed, man. To when I look back at my teenage years, there was maybe 1 year, a year at the most, where I kind of started going in a certain direction. And what kind of shook me back was I became ineligible to play baseball.
Okay.
And that broke my heart, man. Like, what the hell am I doing, man?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then just, kind of set myself straight, and that I got back on the path. But yeah, things happen to us, and God's looking out for us, man. And, he'll let us know, man.
It's funny that you say about baseball, because when I was 14, I tried out for the local baseball team in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother tried out, his best friend tried out, and I tried out. I was the only one that didn't make it. That was what geared me to that, hanging out in the parks and riding my bike in the neighborhood and whatnot, because I wasn't playing sports, because I didn't get the opportunity to play baseball.
Right.
And every ball that was thrown at me in the outfield, I caught every single ball.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I did pretty good for never being painted before,
Uh-huh.
Ever played before, but I didn't get picked. So that coach pushed me into what I went into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not to blame him completely, but that was the...
What's his name? No, just kidding.
Yeah, but that was really... But my mom noticed it,
mm-hmm.
and my uncle was a truck driver. He was a musician, and he said, I need you to look out for my son. Because my uncle was only like 10 years older than I was.
Okay.
So he kind of grew up here. And so he taught me how to drive a semi-truck, tried to show me how to play the guitar. He showed me how to paint cars. He showed me how to drive at 14. Wow. I was driving in the freeway, going to the Ventura swap meet on the freeway at 14.
Wow.
In his 75 Monte Carlo that he had.
That's cool.
So he tried to really pull me back in line. I was going back and forth between my uncle and between, but yeah, I mean, I do believe that God was protecting me, because the 90s were rough, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
The 90s were rough. Yeah, I lost a lot of friends in the 90s, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, they were, man.
But some of them told me, don't get caught up in this lifestyle.
Mm.
Some of them told me that. Don't do it.
Right.
Stay away from this. And some of them even told me, if you need something, let me know. Don't get involved.
Mm.
And when they would say that, I'm like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
They're really trying to push me out and keep me out of it. So I still remember that to today.
Looking out for you, man.
They did. They really did look out for me.
For sure.
Because they were so involved in it.
Yeah. And they knew.
They knew. Yeah, they knew what was going to happen. And maybe they saw something in me, maybe like, this George, I think George is supposed to do something.
The potential.
And maybe that's why they try to gear me out of that. I want to hold on to that.
Yeah.
That's what they did for me. I really want to hold on to that.
Oh, yeah. No doubt, man. Yeah, and you're also an inventor. What are some of do you hold any patents? Talk about some of the...
It's patent pending. It's a batting machine for baseball and softball.
Okay.
It's patent pending. I tried to launch it before Trump took office, but then we went into a aluminum steel tariff war. Had I launched that machine, I would have went bankrupt.
Really?
Yeah, and then I was gonna do it right when COVID hit,
mm-hmm.
and everything shut down.
Oh yeah.
So now we're at right now, and things are not looking up to par in a lot of things. So now it's just like the playing game now, the waiting game. But it is available. So if somebody wants an order to order one, I can get one for somebody if they want to order one through my social media platforms.
Uh-huh.
They can go to my bio and they can say, George, I want one, and I can get one built.
And what do you call it?
It's the Batting Pro.
The Batting Pro.
Call it the Batting Pro.
Hey, describe it for us.
So basically, it's retractable.
Okay.
So you set it up to your favorite pitch, your best pitch that you're looking for, because everybody always practices that perfect pitch, right? The perfect swing. So basically, you set it up for that, and every 2 seconds you can hit it. So this is about muscle memory, training your exact pitch that you're going to get.
Oh.
My daughter became a 5-time All-Star, 1-year Rookie of the Year, and 1-year MVP because of this machine.
Really?
She transitioned from slow pitch to fast pitch. She was in her freshman, sophomore year, she played JV.
Okay.
Because of this machine.
If she was doing softball?
She was playing softball.
Okay.
Yeah. The first year when we first tried out, nobody wanted her because she was the smallest girl on the field.
Right.
So her and like 9, 10 other little girls didn't get picked. So I looked at my daughter's eyes and I saw that not playing was not an option. I could see it in her eyes. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
So I reached out and I asked one of the parents, I go, look, I know you've coached before. If you commit yourself to coaching, I will be your assistant coach. Because clearly your daughter's not going to play either. Mine's not going to play. Yours is not going to play. And for my daughter, that's not an option.
Yeah.
How's it for yours? Well, that's not an option for mine. It was like, I'll commit, bro, if you commit.
Let's do it.
So he committed. And so out of the frustration and the stress of not finding something to help my daughter hone on her buying skills, this one day I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I get this vision of this machine. I sketched it out. I went back to sleep and then when I woke up in the morning, I had a sketch of the batting machine that I envisioned. And then I had that. And then when my daughter came from school that day, I had it in my office. She sat on my lap and she said, Daddy, what is this? Oh, this is the batting machine that I'm going to build for you. It's like, what? Shouldn't I do this? Shouldn't I have this? Shouldn't I do this? So I resketched it.
Wow.
So my daughter became the co-inventor at that point.
Wow.
And I built a prototype for her. And she became 5-time All-Star, 1-year Rookie of the Year, and 1-year MVP because of the batting machine.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
But so it's basically a pitching machine, or does it?
It's not a batting machine. It's a hitting machine. You actually hit the machine.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, you hit the machine.
Gotcha. Oh, wow, very cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta check that out, man.
Yeah, it's retractable. It folds up. You can put it in the back of your car. It fits in the back of a Civic. It's got wheels on it.
You have a manufacturer and all that?
I got a manufacturer, yeah. But we have to wait until the dust settles, to go mass production.
Wow, very cool, man.
But first chance I get, it's gonna happen.
Very cool.
First chance I get. But for the time being, if somebody wants one, I'm not gonna hold anybody back from getting one. So if they want to order one, I can get one for them.
Man, you got the book, you got the batting pro, you got you're also a real estate agent.
Real estate agent. Yeah. I'm going on stages. I'm speaking. I'm getting on podcasts. I mean, I got so much in me. Mm-hmm. God has blessed me with gifts and talents that I am meant to share, because I'm meant to spark somebody to really follow theirs, because we all have one. Sometimes they're just not visible yet until you ask the right questions. Like I did a speaking engagement at Long Beach University, Fullerton University, and there was another couple of people that were speaking, and we sat on the same table, and they said, George, you have an amazing story, but I don't believe I have a gift and talent on life's purpose. And I was like, really? And I smiled and said, why are you laughing? Why are you smiling? He's like, because I don't believe that. I think we all have one.
Definitely.
So then I asked her, what do you like to do? What are you passionate about? And if money was not an option, what would you want to be willing to do for the rest of your life? And immediately, within not even a minute had passed, I can see it in her eyes. And she told me, George, I think I just figured it out. Just like that. Yeah. And she couldn't believe it. Because if somebody would have told her that that's what was going to happen that day, she would not have believed it. Wow. But that conversation changed her life that day, sitting across from me from that table. And she was very, convinced that was hers at that moment. Wow. And just like her mind opened up for her now. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And she was working for a major bottling company. So she's got a pretty good career.
Right.
But she knows that that's not it.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. That's great.
So everybody's got one.
Everybody has one, man.
Yeah. You just have to uncover it like an onion. You have to uncover it.
The
layers off of it, and see, what am I good at? What am I passionate about? What would I do if money was not an option? Mm-hmm. And also, we have to understand that society has made us believe that a hobby is just a hobby. A hobby is not a hobby. A hobby is a gift, and it's a talent. Because painters don't paint as a hobby. That's a gift, because I can't paint.
Right.
Because if I wanted to pick up a hobby, I can't just pick any hobby up.
Absolutely.
I have
Good
to pick
point.
up something that I'm gifted at, something I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the gift and that's the talent.
Mm.
You putting it out there to get monetary gain, that might be the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
By sharing that and then living off of that and feeding yourself from it.
No doubt about it.
But yeah, society has made us believe that they're hobbies, but they're not hobbies. They're gifts and talents.
100%, man.
I told that to somebody else and they're like, that makes so much sense.
It really does, man. You know what's interesting, George? Movie I just saw, man. Talking about whispering and hearing voices. And
What movie is that?
it's from the, maybe you can guess it, from the popular movie from the late 80s. It's a baseball movie.
Baseball movie, Whispers.
Uh-huh. If you build it.
If you build it, they would come.
Right.
Yeah.
Feel the dreams. I just happened to see.
Feel the dreams, yeah.
Yeah.
Feel the dreams.
And, he's hearing the voice and everything you're mentioning and what you've been through and visions and hearing, having those convictions and it reminds me of that, man. It's just what a coincidence that,
I'm glad you mentioned that because you would build it, they would come. But I want to make something very crystal clear. Sometimes if your gift and talent is not visible and it's not noticeable, it's because you are not authorized yet. Now, when I say authorization here, I mean that you haven't earned it, and possibly if you get it, you might not do good with it. And those gifts and talents will only be given and exposed to the people that have good intentions.
Absolutely.
So it's not that you don't have it. You have it, but it might be locked away until you earn it and you prove yourself that you're going to be worthy of it. Because those that are not, they're snatched from them. And they'll be given to somebody else that would appreciate and they will do good deeds with it.
Yeah. It's like Spider-Man, what does he tell him?
With great powers comes big responsibility.
There it is.
But on the flip side, if you abuse that power, it will be taken away.
Taken away.
It will be taken away.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it, man.
So it makes sense.
100%, man. George, so what's next for you, man? Is there another book that you want to write? Are you motivated? Tell us. I know, yeah, like you just mentioned, you're speaking on podcasts. You're doing your real estate, your inventions. What's on the horizon for you, man? Talk about some of your goals.
One of my biggest goal is to reach 100 million people, and that number is hovering and changing to reach 1 billion people. So I have big plans for the stories in my book to reach a wider audience. And I believe that if I follow that avenue, I have every possibility of doing that. And being able to collaborate with people that can see my stories and the things that I have to share as a positive thing also for contribution if they would get involved in it to reach a wider audience. So basically just networking, meet people that are willing to partner and collaborate with me and collaborate with each other so we can take our lives, their lives and my life to the next level to reach more people on a wider, bigger audiences.
And you're on your way, man.
I believe so. I believe being here with you is another stepping stone for keep growing and pursuing that. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here because this is a very important podcast for me. As you know, the reason we're here is because you interviewed somebody that I feel is very influential in the place where I want to be at. And I say, look, if this person is interviewing this individual, that means that these two individuals are like-minded. Therefore, I need to collaborate with these two individuals. And that's why we're here today.
Would you mind mentioning who that individual is?
Yeah, this is from Chicano, Hollywood. This is why we're here today.
Shout out to Johnny Murillo.
Yeah. Shout out to Johnny Murillo. This is why we're here, because I felt that his heart is in the right place. He's very sincere, and his mission that he's accomplishing and bringing people together to share the story, share the culture, that from people that live through that culture, it's important that somebody doesn't tell our story, that we're telling our own stories as authentic as we know them.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I love Johnny, and he's opening doors for a lot of us, man. He's pioneering, he's trailblazing. What else can we say, man? And it's exciting to see and to be involved.
I had the opportunity to meet some very amazing, great people at the event. You know, the first event, I believe that event changed my life, and it made me understand and accept the fact that this next part of my life, it's doable because I was at that event. It just opened me up.
I missed out, man. I missed out. Well, I'll get the next one. You'll be
the next one.
Absolutely, man. George, before we wrap things up, man, where can we connect? Tell us where can we buy the book? Where can we connect with you? Social media, websites, all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, so if you want to follow me on Instagram at Jorge_V Gonzalez, and if you go to my bio, you can there's all my links there. You can download my book for free in Kindle Unlimited. There's a free version in there. There's also the link to my mini real estate course that I just launched 2 weeks ago. It's how to close 12 deals your first 16 months as a brand new agent. So I go into detail with that. And also the link to my batting machine is also there as well too. And also my speaking engagements.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, you're right. You're doing a lot, man. You're inspiring me, man. And I'm spoiled, man, because I get to come on, almost every week and talk to individuals who are just knocking it out of the park, man. And they give me that shot in the arm, man. And every time I have a conversation, man. So thank you so much for being that inspiration. Thank you so much for being setting the example, never giving up. The only way you're gonna fail is if you give up, and that's it, man. And I need to hear that sometimes myself, and we just gotta keep pressing on, man. And thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you, man.
No, thank you for having me, brother. Really appreciate you, man, for that, man.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. I'm looking forward to collaborating with you and staying connected.
Absolutely, 100%.
And taking your inspiration and applying it to my life and my journey.
You got it, brother. You're very welcome, and I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely, man. There you have Jorge V. Gonzalez, author, realtor, inventor. The man is an inspiration. He's doing a lot of things. So go follow him. Go connect with Jorge. If you play softball, baseball, you need to go get one of those machines. He'll hook you up. But no, I want to thank everybody once again for tuning in here right here at the Profile Pod, hosted by yours truly, Double A. We'll see you guys next time. For Jorge, we'll see you guys. Connect with me on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. It's all the Profile Pod. Go follow Jorge. We'll see you guys next time right here on the Profile Pod. And always remember to take it easy. Peace. Thanks again, Jorge.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you, man.